Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from OK Collection 2180 and says, am I the arsehole here for wearing an over-the-top outfit to my friend's birthday party and overshadowing the host? Before I begin, English is not my first language, so apologies for typos, bad grammar and punctuation. I'm also on mobile and using a throwaway just in case. So last Friday night, 24 male friend, we'll call him Peter, celebrated his 28th birthday. His co-worker, that is what he refers to her as, April, offered to organize and host a party. The dress code was, as she put it, your gothic best. Peter loves anything morbid and macabre, so it would fit his taste perfectly. Now, I prioritize comfort over looks, which leaves me dressing mostly in scrubs at work or sweats and hoodies when I'm out and about. Hence, April decided to remind me multiple times in increasingly condescending tone to follow the dress code. So I did just that. I wore a black velvet trouser and waistcoat set with a white 18th century men's shirt, a pirate shirt if you will. All of these items I made completely myself, from drafting the pattern to sewing the shirt completely by hand and adding an embroidery moth across the back of the waistcoat. Now to the party itself. I ended up arriving later than most people due to being held up at work longer than expected. I warned both Peter and April about it. Peter said it was no problem at all, but I better show up, and April left me on red. So I arrived 40 minutes late, greeted April, congratulated Peter and gave him his gift. Mocktails were drank and pleasantries were exchanged. Over the course of the night, I got a lot of compliments on my outfits, and my craft skills were a topic of conversation several times over the evening. It also didn't really help that when someone asked me where I got the suit or shirt from, Peter would loudly tell them all about how I made everything myself. I remember being spun around a couple of times so people could look and touch the embroidery in the back. Everyone had a good time, or so I thought. Over the weekend, April and her friends ended up bombarding my phone and my social media that they could find with absolutely nasty messages. How I was an attention seeker, how desperate I came across, how I absolutely ruined the party April had been planning for weeks. How dare I steal attention away and overshadow Peter and April? You get the idea. I feel like I'm going a bit insane. Overshadowing anybody was never my intention, especially my friend at his own party. I don't think that I did. But all of these comments are making me rethink my choices. So am I the arsehole here? I really need some outside perspective. Absolutely not the arsehole at all. This isn't about your, in quotes, over-the-top outfit. Well, it is in some ways, in the fact that April is just jealous of it, because I feel like she's got a crush on Peter and is now jealous of you getting that attention, and maybe talks about you in the background. From the way he said that he wants you there, it sounds like he does. Someone on the back of that suggests Peter is behind this, and Opie says, I doubt that is the case. Known the guy for 10 plus years, and he's never had a problem with people overshadowing him. He's not insecure, and if he's got a problem with someone's actions, he'll say it. He wouldn't send his co-worker's girlfriend to harass a person on his behalf. Commenter says to OP, not the arsehole. April has a thing for Peter and sees you as a threat. She's going to find ways to criticize you and tear you down no matter what you do. Opie says, I guess it also didn't help that Peter kept his hand on my back for most of the evening, and when he got absolutely wasted, put his face in my hair. Commenter says, so maybe it's not just April's imagination, that you are a threat to her attempts to connect with Peter. Opie says, I think the biggest threat is Peter being Aero/Ace and the way April behaves, not me. Commenter says, could he possibly be demi-romantic, because Peter's behavior that you're describing present has a little bit more than platonic. Keeping his arm around you, smelling your hair, those are often actions, though not exclusively of course, exhibited by people towards a paramour or crush of some degree. And yes, April is the problem. Opie says according to him, he is Aero/Ace and he wasn't smelling my hair, more like rubbing his face on top of my head. He says it's because he likes how my hair feels. He plays with my hair often enough, and when he gets a little too drunk, he face plants into it. Though we did it mostly back when we were in uni. Knowing him, it could just be a texture thing. On the others liking the outfit, Opie says, at some point I ended up with like 4 very drunk people rubbing the moth's body. I made it from faux fur, and by extension my back with their fingers. It was a weird experience to say the least. And more on the outfit, Opie said I had help when it came to drafting the suit from someone who actually knows what they're doing. The shirt was made from a bunch of squares, so no problem there. The embroidery is all split stitches and faux fur for the body of the moth. I really made it sound to be much more impressive than it is. So Opie did come in with their update and said, update this morning, showed Peter the post and all of the messages from April and co. Never heard him be this angry. Said he'll deal with them. Turns out April is a pathological liar and had been telling everyone in the office that Peter and her are in a relationship, but are keeping it low key. She was also taking pictures of him every time she walked by his office and showing them to her friend as proof. So her friends thought that I was trying to steal her man. They aren't even co-workers. She just greets clients at the front desk at the firm Peter works at. Peter ripped her a new one. Their boss, April's uncle, ripped her a new one. The co-worker she lied to ripped her a new one. April ended up throwing a tantrum and police were called. The results, April is currently on a 48-hour hold. Peter is moving to work from home full time. I got apologies from April's uncle, mum, a few friends and co-workers. When stuff like that happens, it goes like the small paragraph of an update and it escalates really quickly. The Anchorman scene always pops into my head like, that escalated quickly. Boy, that really got out of hand. As always, I always like to think about what they're trying to think at the same time. I know it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but to try and convince people that you're with this person, even though you're not, it's just such a slippery slope, isn't it? Your end game in this, not knowing if you can actually get with them in the end as well. It's just so weird. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from Feisty External 2244 from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and says, am I the arsehole for not moving my wedding date to accommodate my sister's pregnancy? I, 25 female, have a sister, Ella, 28 female. Ella and I have always been close growing up, despite her being 3 years older. We've always been best friends. I was her maid of honor and she's mine. Ella is currently 5 months pregnant. She had a rough first trimester, throwing up 3 to 4 times a day, always tired. Some days she couldn't get out of bed, literally. She has also found out early when she was a month into it because her symptoms were so bad. Her and I live close to each other, and since her husband travels a lot for work, I've stayed with her a lot since I work remotely. My fiance and I had originally set the date for July. However, seeing how sick she was, I along with my entire family were getting worried. And so after my fiance and I discussed it, we decided to reschedule the wedding until after she had passed her first trimester. Per her doctor, she was supposed to get better. I need to add that no one asked this of us, but I felt it was needed. And thank God, she did get better. She's eating normally, going out and back to herself. Seeing this, my fiance and I talked about our wedding again. I'd always wanted a summer wedding on the beach, but I didn't want to wait a full year. And seeing winter wedding pictures was slowly growing on me. And so we decided on a December wedding. The invitations were finalized last week with the date and were all sent a couple of days ago. Yes, it's early, but my man and I have big families / a big group of friends and colleagues. We need the RSVPs early. Yesterday, I got an angry phone call from my sister asking how I can do something like this to her. I was honestly confused and told her as much, and she went on a rant about how inconsiderate I was to not wait until my nephew is born, that her being maid of honor and 8 months pregnant is going to be hard, and that she has already been through hell. I calmly explained to her that, well, yes, she is maid of honor. I don't expect her to go above and beyond. My best friend and her had already planned a girls' night back when my wedding was in July. So we're just going with that again. Everything is already bought, and my best friend will set it up. I told her that my man and I have also rebooked everything ourselves. Flowers, venue and catering are going to be done by our friends who have their own shops and companies, and that are paid to have her dress resized to accommodate her bump. I'm even taking care of hair and makeup for all of my wedding party. A sort of pamper session where we all get ready together and take pictures. All she's required to do is show up. She's having none of it, is demanding we reschedule it again until next summer. I put my foot down and give her a flat out no. My parents called me and asked me to reconsider, saying that I know she's emotional and hormonal. I told them that's not an excuse for her to act like a bitch. Any opinions and advice are much appreciated. Edit. First of all, thank you for all the comments and advice. I'm definitely seeing her side more than I was before. I do need to clarify some things that I didn't add in the post. When we rescheduled the wedding, her and brother-in-law had my fiance and I over for dinner. We do weekly dinners every Friday. She thanked me for rescheduling and told me she felt guilty. I made sure to tell her that I don't blame her, that having her there, healthy and happy is what matters, in whatever capacity she can give me. I made sure she knew that she could step down from maid of honor at any point, even if it was a day before the wedding, and that I would understand. At dinner, my man and I also floated the idea of a winter wedding around, and both her and brother-in-law said it would be fun, since we haven't had that in our family yet. We also chose the date around many of our family schedules along with our friends' availabilities, who were also being gracious enough to still do our wedding flowers and catering and renting us the venue despite us rescheduling it once already. We didn't decide anything lightly. Also, I might update, if I ever figure out how, because my parents called and invited me to their house so my sister and I can talk it out. I have no idea why she's using a third party, even if it's our parents. Sometimes a third party or a mediator is a good thing, and that might be the case in this situation. They might not want things to get out of hand and have an argument, etc. But then again, sometimes a mediator isn't a great thing. And I imagine, because we got an update for one, that's going to go down that path. Especially because your parents have also kind of taken her side already, making excuses for her like she's emotional and hormonal, which she will be, she's pregnant, but it's not an excuse like you said. But John Sense says to the OP, not the arsehole, your wedding, your call. Your sister isn't in a position to make demands about major wedding decisions, especially the logistical nightmare of rescheduling it. The Patriot says, I would have turned it around and asked her, how dare you get pregnant in the first place because you knew I had a wedding planned in July? /sarcasm. Not the arsehole. You should not put your life on hold for a pregnancy. Congrats on the upcoming marital bliss. Maybe she'll come around in a few weeks, or maybe she is not as close as you thought. Opie says I should have done it. I'm petty enough to. But I honestly don't want to have a whole drama around my wedding more than there already is. Beautiful Scale replies that saying, then I wouldn't go to the meeting with your parents. There's nothing to discuss and work out. Either your sister chooses to be in the wedding or she chooses to step down. Only conversation that needs to happen. You already postponed it once for her. She should be grateful for that. And another comment from Susan who says, not the arsehole. You've already shown a lot of flexibility and support for your sister by rescheduling your wedding once to accommodate her early pregnancy struggles. You're making additional efforts to ensure she feels comfortable and supported at your wedding, including resizing her dress and arranging a pampering session. It's understandable that she's feeling overwhelmed, but you've made fair accommodations, and it's important to prioritize your own plans and preferences as well. So OP comes in with her update and said, hey guys, it's me again. I want to say thank you for all the advice and opinions. Each and every one helped a lot to see where I went wrong and her side of the story. I realize and agree that I was so damn wrong to 1. Move the date to winter and December of all months. Not only when she would be heavily pregnant, but also with Christmas around the corner. 2. Not discussing the specific date beforehand with her and asking for her opinion. While I've never been pregnant, I did watch many of my friends and cousins go through it, not to mention my own sister, and should have been more considerate and empathetic. My fiance and I should have also kept in mind that doing it around Christmas time was selfish because even though we had decided not to do a wedding registry / accept gifts on both wedding dates, we should have taken into consideration that dresses, suits, gas are still costly. That was our privilege showing, and we're arseholes for it. People were also questioning me about why my sister was informed about the date through a card. That's because she hasn't been involved in the planning all that much. The way she asked, so she doesn't stress out, which was fair enough. And since she didn't have responsibilities, I didn't tell her, which again, I should have done. As I mentioned in my original post, I was invited to my parents' house, my sister using them as a third party, and I was asked to update by a few people, and so here it is. I ended up going yesterday with my fiance, as some of you mentioned, in case it was a gang-up situation. They were not expecting my fiance, that was clear, but they didn't ask him to leave either. We sat down and I felt like I needed to start off the conversation, and so I did. And I apologized first and foremost, and then talked to them honestly about the things that I mentioned above. I noticed while I was talking that my parents were engaging us, giving us their point of views. My sister, however, was sitting to the side, not all that interested in what I was saying. I tried to address her, first with the apology, then when we were trying to come up with solutions, all I got was one-word answers. I'm not going to lie, I was getting frustrated, and I wasn't discreet about it after a few failed attempts. She seemed to pick up on it, and that set her off. Not just verbally, I mean throwing pillows. When those ran out, she threw a juice at me and finally a pen, all while screaming about how unfair it is that my wedding is still overshadowing her pregnancy. My fiance, bless him, took the brunt of the juice and pillows. Obviously, I didn't retaliate, not only because she's pregnant and I was in shock because I've never been in a physical fight in my life. After that, she started screaming and wailing and stormed off to her old bedroom. I looked at my parents bewildered, expecting them to say something, anything. When they didn't, I asked my fiance to leave and stormed off as well. My fiance and I are still talking about what to do. We also called his parents and siblings for advice. May update once we figure something out. On the back of this one, Careless Channel says, I think she just showed you who she is. She said it, literally. Your wedding is still overshadowing my pregnancy. I never thought you should have apologized. You already moved the date for her once. Yeah, you could have communicated better, but your wedding is not about her. She's the one being selfish, entitled, and crazy, and I do hope your parents see sense. I'd go ahead with the wedding with or without her. Ask her to step down as maid of honor, as she's clearly not supporting you and is only jealous of the attention on you. Yeah, she's pregnant, but most pregnant people don't throw things at their relatives and then refuse to see how they are wrong or apologize. You've done enough. Let her and her partner manage her hormones and tell her you expect an apology if she wants to keep the relationship strong. Tarzan Kitty says she definitely is expecting a newborn to overshadow OP's wedding. OP, here is the thing about pregnancy. Babies are much easier to take care of while they're on the inside than when they're on the outside. There's no reason she couldn't go to the wedding at 8 months. Many expectant mothers are still working full-time at 8 months. She puts on a dress, stands for a 20-minute ceremony, and then sits down for a lovely rubber chicken dinner. It isn't like you're asking her to run a marathon. Finding Love's Retreat says in quotes, each and every one helped a lot to see where I went wrong and her side of the story, and then says, are you kidding me? Where you went wrong and her side of the story? You didn't do anything wrong, and anyone who says as such clearly doesn't have your interests at heart. Who on this earth should have any input into 2 other people's weddings except the bride and groom? Your sister is wrong, and you are not the arsehole. A new Kitty says, girl, there is nothing wrong with a wedding in December if everyone is informed months in advance. I bet overshadowing is the whole point of the issue. While you have tried to put your selfish sissy first, she was fine. But I guess her expectation was you wait until next year, maybe longer, if she needs to lose pregnancy weight. Or longer because the kiddo is young or then has first birthday, etc. But you decided correctly to not put your life on hold anymore, and she has exploded. I guess she would have been like if you consider sooner month or later month, you know, you have to wait for a permission to let me check, to marry. No, put yourself first, finally. And a final comment from Clean Factor who says, your sister is unhinged. She doesn't like what she hears, so she had a toddler tantrum. Only selfish people complain about someone else existing and celebrating their events on the same planet. That's basically the problem. Your sister wants all the attention on her indefinitely. There's no reason she should be involved in your wedding planning, and no reason you should defer your date to when she's okay with you having the spotlight. There is no date she'll be happy for you to have the spotlight. Rescind their invite and do what you will. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Would you still allow that sister to be maid of honor? Would apology be enough? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your pictures recently about what you've been doing while you're listening and sending to me over on Twitter, or X now they call it. Absolutely love to see it. Keep those coming, please, as well. It really does make my day. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.